Hi, you're watching Hindustan Times, and today we have a very special guest in our midst, Mr. Ram Charan, a renowned management guru and mentor to many global CEOs and businesses. Mr. Charan has recently penned a new book, Rethinking Competitive Advantage. Now, the book offers a new set of rules to get ahead in the digital era, a post-COVID era that is all about constant innovation, fast execution, and really customer satisfaction. So, my first question to you, if you were to nail it down to the one big arsenal that every CEO needs to have during the current times, what would it be?
In this digital age, the most important part is for every company to change their mindset to serve each individual customer. We call personalization. It is here. Those who do it, they can create exponential market value, exponential growth. Those who don't, they run the risk of being far lag behind, and some might even disappear. This is a major change. We came from mass marketing, mass advertising, mass production. Today, it is personalization. I call it market of one. Individual needs, knowing individual's pattern of servicing, individual satisfaction. And the item number two, one cannot do this without building algorithmic digital engine. They are not expensive. People have myths. They are fast to do. We have lots of examples in India and outside that procrastination in building the engine is a very negative. If you get ahead of the curve, you have the opportunity to create your revenues 10 times, market value 10 times. And these are the two most important things as far as the business is concerned. But there's a third thing that has been discovered by the digital giants like Amazon, like Google, now Microsoft, like Adobe, that when you put the digital engine and you scale up, you have a money-making model that becomes a cash machine. And that creates increasing returns. We have been trained for diminishing returns. This is a major change in business that did not exist at high scale, larger scale, until about 1997. And now the digital giants came in. They have created a change. They have changed industries. Mr. Bezos comes in Amazon. Larry Page, Sergey Brin come in Google. Zuckerberg comes in Facebook. Satya Nadella picks it up in Microsoft. Shantanu Narayanan picks it up in Adobe. Netflix picks it up. Walmart now picks it up. Disney picks it up. So now people beginning to realize this, and that they know algorithms are easily available. You can get these services on a variable cost basis, and that these algorithms were invented almost 300 years ago. They are almost commoditized unless you're very sophisticated.
Right.
We need to change the mindset of the top management. We need to bring the team's alignment. They have to learn this. It is like you're putting a generator in your plant. You put the algorithmic engine in your company. Generator plant was a physical device. This is a mental and social device that doubles, triples, 10 times your mental capability to make decisions, consistent, shorter period of time, and it enhances your capacity to do intuition. That's what's different.
6 new rules of competition that you've defined in your book, which
Yes.
two would you hold sacrosanct for post-COVID marketers? And when I say post-COVID marketers, I'm really talking about traditional companies, because digital companies have already, geared themselves and shifted themselves to the changing marketplace and to the changing competitive environment. But what about traditional companies? What are the two things that are sacrosanct for them, the two rules out of your six that you think is sacrosanct for them to start heading in the right direction?
Okay. So the traditional companies, yeah. So traditional companies, they got to do just three things. First, the mindset change of the people in power, top people, that we are going to link with the customer on individual basis and build the digital bridge in connecting with them. And get that data, analyze it, use the algorithms, connect with them, and then see what's their need and how do we satisfy it. So we have, for example, a BMW dealership. They have this algorithmic engine in India. They're taking it on a worldwide basis. And this was installed in 10 weeks.
Right.
It's got connected with the dealers. We have Uniqlo, Japanese, fantastic firm, #1 in the world in market cap. They got this engine in 10 weeks to be able to connect with the customer. Connecting the customer, individual data, using the data, analyzing the data, creating more recurring revenues, and then getting the people who want to supply to the same customers called ecosystem. You will see very quickly a difference in your revenues and in your margins. That's #1.
Yes.
The second thing, a company uses cash, gets cash, dispenses cash. So every company has a supply chain. Supply chain uses a lot of money, a lot of cost, a lot of cash. So you can discreetly do the digitization of supply chain. And that will give you the cash to go forward. Then you take more sophisticated things, how to do that. But most companies are doing the internal processes first to reduce cost. My argument is you can do that, but do the front end first, link with the customer, get the data, and then do the back end to get the cash. Then you do the insider.
It's very well known that in the post-COVID environment, and the pandemic has accelerated the shift to digital. But really, the best companies are, trying to enhance, expand their digital footprint. How are traditional companies to keep up with this change and gain an edge in the digital world order? Because there are already companies who are doing this, right?
The key point here is that you start with one key project first. Each of these digital companies started with one project, learned how to put the engine in and how to use it. You got the customer data. Then you say, what is additional need of that customer? What's another need of the customer? That data will tell you the pattern. So you're not going to do everything at the same time. It will be a disaster.
Right.
I have now seen many companies that took a big deal, 3-year contract, they spend a lot of time and have to scrap it. Because there's a learning involved, not just getting the data, how to use it, how to analyze it, how to create ecosystem, how to change pricing. You're learning the business to do differently.
One of the new competitive rules you really talk about is also to create an ecosystem with third-party partners to revolutionize and personalize the customer experience, which really ties in with what you're saying here. That's really a far cry from the traditional model where companies would try and create product services in-house so as to reduce outside dependability. Are you saying that partnerships, the ecosystem of partnerships, is the way forward?
Yeah, partnership, let me define what kind. You have in India and you have in just about every major country. So the American example is that on the Amazon, Nike is sold on the Amazon platform. That's partnership. And that gives them a lot of revenue.
Right.
Nike gets a lot of distribution. We have that in Flipped. We have in Amazon in India and more going to come. So you build front end of the business with the consumer. You get other people to come on your platform. And this way, They benefit, you get more data, you get right kind of data, diverse data, and that gives you the insights how to get recurring revenues, adjacent revenues. So that is how you build the ecosystem.
Let's just talk about because you've talked about how customers king and customer orientation in the new era. We could also say that consumer psychology has really been altered like never before in the past few months. What are some of the rules that companies need to follow while reimagining the customer expectation in the post-COVID era? Because that also
Yes.
needs to be reimagined, right?
No, this is huge point though. There are two elements to this. First, you now have consumer data available from outside sources. It is sold, it's available, very current. So that gives you insight. But if you're already connected with your customers now, that data will also tell you how the behavior is changing. All said and done, there is no substitute for personal observations. You still got to live to see, because the human senses are still much better, much bigger, much versatile, much nimble, much flexible than what the data can tell. But let the intuition propose a hypothesis, what you observe, and test with the data. That will give you more confidence.
While there is a big talk about this customer first approach, the post-COVID realities are really hitting companies and brands where it hurts the most, which is their bottom line. Now, on one hand, we say manage customer expectation, personalization, and on the other hand, there are these bottom lines which have been hit hard by the post-COVID realities. We hear a lot of companies who are actually now moving from a quarter-on-quarter focus to almost a day-on-day focus. Looking at things, figuring out ways to improve their bottom lines, turn around their losses in the lockdown and the pandemic, the really bad days of the pandemic in the last 1 year. Would you describe that as a detrimental approach?
In the COVID-19 era, there were two very distinct kind of companies. There are more than two. One was they were trapped for cash. Business disappeared.
Right.
They had debt. And to do that, their most important task, urgent task, was to generate cash. If they don't generate cash, they die, and they did die. So that's one kind. You focus there, even if you sell your assets, you sell the assets, and you hope this cash will help you come back, because you still have the customers who are loyal to you, even though the business was closed. They will come back. The other one, they were either lucky or delivered. Before the COVID-19, they were doing the digitization. And they found a silver lining to be able to scale up and do that. So we say, that's fine. You were lucky, or you were good, you were strategic. Now that you have cash, now you have customers, now you built a brand, you have a very bright future. But don't relax. Because as the digital giants have shown, that your total market is 7.4 billion people. Apple has 1.6 billion customers, sells lots of apps. It's same product across the globe, same brand. So think big, and you have already proven yourself that this is doable because you did it. Now your job is to scale it up fast.
A lot of businesses at this time, and my question is related to the previous question. What they're wondering is, what are the 3 simple steps to build, let's say, a cash-rich organization? Because that is what is hurting businesses right now. Without short selling your customer, your shareholders, your employees, really.
The key point is that the algorithmic engine is designed and operated to optimize end-to-end. Therein lies the generation of cash. We could not have done that before. There was no way. Now we do. And we cut this cycle time roughly, maybe in some cases, more than half. So it happens in the vaccines. It happened at Moderna. Everything, every single thing was digitized. That cut the cycle time by more than 80%. And now you have a vaccine and very profitable. So this engine gets all the data from all sources. It's designed right. It processes it.
Right.
It will cut cycle time. It will reduce cost. It will create cash. Jeff Bezos measures performance and cash per share, not EPS. When I was in India, 1967, I left India early. These big industrialists, in those days, you had the Birlas, the Modis, the Rams, they all managed on the cash basis. They did not manage on EPS. They understood, unless there is a fraud, cash is the right measure of business performance. Now these large companies are coming back to it. So Amazon showed for a long time negative EPS, but very positive cash. And they are a cash machine. They got a ton of cash. That's the healthy part of it.
I want to really shift the needle to another area, that's another topic that's bothering many organizations, and that is the work from home ecosystem in this new reality. Is it here to stay, or will we eventually have to return to the old ways of doing things? And how does that tie in with an organization's competitive advantage?
So you see, once the data and engine is being built, I'm not saying it's totally built, it's being built. So the decision making begins to change. So for example, if you had 5 layers to build a decision, and you make the data totally transparent, you will not need the 5 layers. So the organization layers will shrink. So there is a company in Brazil. It's called B2W. This company has beaten Amazon and Walmart both. They built it. They began 10 years ago. But they know the terrain of delivery of logistics better than anybody. Because last mile deliveries is still based on the terrain, not just on the digitals. And so their organization structure is totally changed because the data doesn't need 10 layers. People hoard data, and we created the phrase span of control. We did not have these tools to supervise people. When you have data transparency available to everybody, authorized, you don't need a span of control for supervision. We now have in one company, Fidelity in Boston, where the performance is tracked totally by robots. But the senior people do the coaching, training, skills, techniques, going and seeing the customer.
Interesting. So what you're basically saying is that we could be moving towards a permanent work from home situation. Is that how what your hypothesis would be?
Yeah. So the upgrading of skills will take place. Now, if you're growing 10 times, you need all the people you can for product development, for customer service, for delivery of last mile.
Right.
We will see the contrary projections have come. We will see a shortage of people. Now, every time a radical change has taken place, a steam engine, rails, electricity, assembly line.
Move on to another topic, and I think that's
yes.
a question that never grows old, but is perhaps more pertinent now than ever before. That is the India versus
Mhm.
China competitive advantage. It's no secret that,
Mhm.
India missed the manufacturing bus and some say even the technology bus to China. But in this post-pandemic era, when many companies are planning to shift their base from China, how can India take advantage? And is India placed in a competitive situation to take advantage of this situation?
Let me mention two or three things. I want you to know that I'm a product of India from the low cities, small cities. So I've not forgotten my values here, even though I live here and I come to India very often. I've been on boards in India. I'm on one now, been before. First thing I want you to know, we need to analyze the facts. We got to get intrinsic cost structure of a product from China. We don't get that. We should get the intrinsic cost structure in India, compare it, not what the actual price is. Then you compare what is the competitive disadvantage. You're going to find that in our case, if you are a private company, and I've been examining companies in $500 million revenue, $100 million revenue, these are very good companies in India. They have been having difficulties because they've not known how to scale up. These are entrepreneurs par excellence. And despite all the difficulties, they produce this. Very nice, no doubt. Now, if we help them in scaling up and we help them to see the intrinsic cost structure of China, Japan, Korea, South Korea, you will see that we probably have better competitive advantage and cost than they have if you strip these things out. People need to understand the currency exchange rate is arbitrary. That affects competitive advantage. A company does not control that. So I have a company called in Hyderabad. It's about 150 million in sales. It's called Newland. They used to depend on China for 80% of their imports for their manufacturing of drugs, supplements, but they are real pharmaceutical stuff. Over a 3-year period, they've reduced to 10%. So I have suggested that we need to create a real momentum in India on companies that are 100 million to 500 million. They are there, they create jobs, and you create a way for them to understand which ones they can scale up, and we don't need those imports from anywhere. They don't need any help. They can create their own cash. They do. They're very good, but they have not learned how to scale up.
How can the government help in giving that competitive advantage to Indian companies?
Yeah, we got to go industry by industry. We got to compare it, then see where the rules are. Is it currency? Is it tariffs? Is it they really do a good job? They're really better in technology or production. How can we improve that? We can buy technology for just about anything.
Right.
They are available. They may not be from China. They are from Japan. They are from Korea. They are from the United States. They are from Germany. So we say, do this honest to goodness, intrinsic cost structure comparison. And strip out all the other things that create the distortion in comparison. See, many things in one country are more expensive than they are in America. The currency and so on.
Right.
So we set it in India. So that's what the government need to do, to find mechanisms so people can compare. Honest to goodness. I'm not much for government financial help. There's no need, because these entrepreneurs are very good. They know how to make cash, how to do, how to deliver. But we need to get them help in the scale. They even look for consultants, local consultants. They're willing to spend the money to do that. I do for some companies, I want to do it pro bono. because I can help them. I do that some for very little fee. I said, these are good companies. They are in villages, by the way. I have one company in a village. And it's more than 100 million, and they export. So that kind of a thing, we can design a program under the industry ministry to help these people. But they're not looking for handouts. They're not looking for cash. No.
I'm going to ask you one last question and
Sure.
and leave it at that. And that is really about the level of confidence in management teams and top leadership of the companies right now. What we are hearing, what we are reading in the pink papers, the level of confidence is really at an all-time low after the bruising that they've received at the hands of the pandemic last year. What would be your advice to top leadership of companies and cutting across?
Yeah. The top leadership, there are 3 items. Conviction to know what the customer wants. Many don't have that conviction. They don't know. They read numbers. They're far away. You cannot have a business without customer. And the key point is, given this age of digitization, customer is able to compare what you do versus against somebody else. That's number 1. Number 2 is you got to understand fully how your business will make money differently under digital age than now. These are phrases, dynamic pricing. At one point, Walmart changed prices every hour on a number of items. We couldn't do that before. We could do it now. So how are you going to make money in the business? For every single business is going to change, bar no business. This is the part that you are not a CEO unless you are a businessman, businesswoman. And a third thing, and they're not in order, if you don't take care of your employees, you're going to be hurt very badly. Because employees expand your capacity. They have brains, they have energy. You got to give them leeway to think, leeway to act. You see, Ms. Prasad, how talent is coming out in India, cricket. You see the Idol, all those young talent coming through. We had so much talent in India. They got freedom to come in. Why not in business? Why is it in sports? We have broken the barrier of Bollywood. We now have all these programs coming in. In my days, it was 6 lyrics writers, 6 lyrics writers, 5 musicians, Shankar Jaikishan, Kalyan Jianji, Naushad, and about 10 key actors control the whole place. And 3 producers.
Right.
It's all broken. Talent. We have a lot of talent. So you got to nurture talent in your company.
Because that's really where your innovation is going to come from in your company.
Absolutely. Innovation, service, but more importantly, brain has no limits. We have a ton of them. They didn't speak good English. English is not a requisite to do a good job. They didn't get an opportunity to go to school, but they have a raw talent. They can make business. We have plenty of stories in India who didn't have much education. The most famous is Dhirubhai Ambani. He built something. It will last a long time.
Right. Thank you, sir. So there you have it. Key points coming out from this interview with the renowned management guru, Ram Charan. At this point where brands are hurting so badly and companies are hurting as far as their bottom lines are concerned. So we're really at a tipping point, and leaders have to make very crucial choices. And the pressure to get it right has never been greater as it is today. And in that context, the words of wisdom, the new rules of competitive advantage, that Mr. Charan talks about in his book, I think it's a must read for any business leader right now, wanting to make a difference, wanting to get it right, and wanting to excel in the new post-COVID world order. Thank you, Mr. Charan. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, viewers, for listening to us.